So, Facebook memories, that's a thing. The whole on this day feature. You know, you go onto Facebook and you can see what you posted last year or 2 years ago or 10 years ago. It's usually quite nice to look back on stuff, but every now and again it can remind you of something you would rather forget. Such was the case a couple of days ago when I went onto my Facebook memories and saw a status I had written which was commented on by some truly terrible people. The thing is, I had been going through a period of depression. I'd walked away from an abusive relationship, I was having counselling with an abuse charity, I was trying to put myself and my life back together. I wasn't in the best headspace, and I'd had to go to a first aid course for work. So I was there on this first aid course, and the guy who was teaching said first aid course had noticed that I looked kind of sad and withdrawn. So in a tea break, he asked me if I was okay. Now, given that I am British, obviously my answer was, "Oh, of course I'm fine!" But there was something about him that I trusted, so I ended up telling this St. John ambulance man, "Actually, I'm going through a bit of a depression at the moment, and I'm sort of here because I have to be here, and if I didn't have to be here, I'd probably be under a blanket rocking backwards and forwards." And the guy teaching the first aid course looked at me and said, "I'm actually just over my own depression. I lost my wife earlier this year. We've been married for 40 years. She was my everything, and I didn't know how to cope without her, so I fell into this really bad depression myself, and it's taken me a long time to come out of it." And then he told me that the thing that pulled him out of it was having this realization that there's only one certain thing that will happen to absolutely everybody once they're born, and that is that we'll die. Cheery thought! But it kind of was for him, because he told me that he'd realized that the space between being born and dying is filled with whatever you want to fill it with. So you can either live your life in a way that makes the most of being alive and leaves people with amazing memories to remember you by, like his wife had done, or you can spend that period in between being too scared to live. Oh wow, man, you've just blown my freaking mind. He'd realised that the people that he loved who were still left behind, he wanted to live and enjoy being with them and give them memories of himself for when he was no longer around. And I don't know why, but just hearing that from him really inspired me and made me go, "Do you know what? I've wasted enough of my life on this abusive, horrible man and what he did to me. Now I need to put things back in place and just go out there and live my life and enjoy myself." And I came home and I wrote on Facebook about it. Then one of my oldest friends commented on my status to say, "Oh, I see. So you'll listen to some random old man that you've never met before when he tells you to cheer up, but you won't listen to me who actually knows you. Wow, Emma, thanks. That's really nice." I mean, she was the kind of person who liked to make everything about herself, so I wasn't surprised, although I was kind of annoyed by her comment. But then her massive douchebag boyfriend got involved, and his comment was worse. "What a load of offensive rubbish. You're insulting your friends for a start. And secondly, you should be taking inspiration by reading Kafka or Kerouac, not listening to some trite sentimental crap from some old man you don't even know." Fun fact! When you've been really depressed and then something comes along and makes you feel happy and gives you a bit of inspiration, you feel good. And then when someone tells you you're wrong to feel good because of that thing, you end up beating yourself up and feeling even more depressed as a result. Thank you, friends! Like seriously, there is a reason these terrible people are no longer in my life. Reading that status on my Facebook memories the other day made me think about how inspiration can be found from anywhere, and nobody has the right to tell you you're not allowed to be inspired by that. Some people get inspired by a certain piece of music or by watching a TV show or a film that makes them feel something that they don't get from anywhere else. And that's fine. You can be inspired by music or film. You can be inspired by a random celebrity that you particularly admire. In my life, I am hugely inspired by the music of the Manic Street Preachers. That's why my channel is called MrsManics. I am inspired by the very existence of Rachel Bloom. And my biggest inspiration of all, celebrity-wise, is now and always has been Audrey Hepburn. I could do a whole video on why I love her so much, and I actually might. On a more personal level, I'm hugely inspired by the people I love the most who are in my life. My mum is a huge inspiration to me. She's always been there as my supporter. She makes me laugh. She looks after me when I'm feeling down. She's just fantastic and I love her to pieces. So she inspires me every day. And the other biggest inspiration in my life is Leslie, who is one of the most talented people I have ever met and probably the cleverest person I know besides my sister, who's also a genius. She makes me smile all the time. She makes me feel like I can be myself around her, and that's really inspirational. I don't have any guilt about how inspired I am by any of those things or people, and no one should. And speaking of Leslie, very recently the two of us went from Cornwall to Nottingham to attend something called Harmony College, where people come along and they learn more about singing, or in our case, directing, which you do with one hand, Emma. When will you learn? Anyway, while we were there, we heard this amazing keynote address from a lady called Mo Field, who was telling us about how she had a publishing deal to write music, and she was hunting for a recording contract, and she did touring and played her own music and sang, and then she was in a really bad car accident and couldn't sing anymore, couldn't do any of the things that she had relied on doing before, and had to sort of learn how to be herself again, and ended up being the director of a chorus who won like major gold medals. And now she gives vocal coaching and directing coaching, and she also sings in a quartet. The way she talked about learning what you're good at and focusing on what you're good at and believing in yourself was so inspirational that Leslie and I were like, we want her to follow us around and just give us life advice all the time. And there is no part of my brain that went, oh no, I shouldn't be inspired by Mo Field's words. I should be inspired by Kafka. You can take inspiration from anywhere and from anyone. If something or someone makes you feel a certain feeling that makes you want to go out and do things, or just makes you feel inspired, that is no one's place to go, wrong. Whatever inspires you, good. Embrace it. Don't feel any shame about it. And the reason I wanted to make this video is partly because I wanted to say don't feel any kind of guilt if something makes you feel inspired, but also because I kind of wanted to share some of the things that inspire me, and I want to know what inspires you. So let me know in the comments, what are your biggest inspirations? Who are your biggest inspirations? And it doesn't have to be for your YouTube channel if you have one, just in life. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. You can click on my floaty head to subscribe. I also have a brand new shiny channel trailer which you can watch here. I'll be back next Sunday with a new video. Take care everybody and be inspired, however that comes. Bye!